Dr. Peterson, what if we get rid of Facebook, but whatever takes its place is worse? Because technology always builds on the past technology, and we could be going in a really interesting direction.
Yeah, well, we're going in about 10 interesting directions at the same time, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult to understand how to monitor and control all the social media. It's such a powerful force. And it changes so quickly that we really can't stay adapted to it.
Yeah.
You know?
It's actually, we're basically racing against something that's smarter than us, I think, right?
Yeah, I think that's happened ever since the beginning of time, actually.
Yeah,
you know, yeah, we do kind of fail and die after all, eventually. So, but yeah, this is a whole new enterprise.
Yes, I don't plan on dying, Dr. Peterson. I want my brain extracted from this beautiful skull and placed in a vat of nutrients, and then I can just do this show and I'll just be gurgling. Dan, last word. How do you feel?
About your brain gurgling?
Yes.
I'm concerned.
Yeah,
I think there's not going to be enough nutrients. What if it turns into like a chia brain and it starts and stuff starts growing out of it? All these amazing thoughts you have.
It's so true. All right, coming up, everywhere he goes, he brings order to chaos. My exclusive interview. It's exclusive with Jordan Peterson on Living Your Best Life. That's next. All right, for my money, Dr. Jordan Peterson is probably one of the greatest thinkers alive today. His YouTube videos have been watched by millions, and he tackles topics like identity politics, personal responsibility, being a better man, and the true nature of evil. Earlier this year, Dr. Peterson gave a TV interview, and the topic turned to free speech. It went like this.
Why should your right to freedom of speech trump a trans person's right not to be offended?
Because in order to be able to think, you have to risk being offensive. I mean, look at the conversation we're having right now. You know, like you're certainly willing to risk offending me in the pursuit of truth. Why should you have the right to do that? It's been rather uncomfortable. That's fine. I think more power to you as far as I'm concerned.
So you haven't sat there and... I'm just trying to work that out. I mean...
Ha, gotcha.
You have got me. You have got me.
Whoops. All right. That you got to see the whole. You have to see the whole interview of that. Is hilarious, and what a perfect timing for your book. So I read.
We had it all planned.
Yeah, did you plan that? Did you? She gets part of the royalties. There's so many interesting things about the book, but I like the fact that you make me think that there are two versions of me. There's past Greg and present Greg. So present Greg depends on the past. For example, if past Greg wakes up in the morning and decides not to go to the gym, present Greg is really mad because now present Greg has to go. So the secret the secret of life, no, it's actually the secret of life is you have to do things for future Greg, or else life sucks. Basically, you have a whole chapter on delayed gratification. Have I explained it?
That's pretty good.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I'm impressed.
Yeah. Should I just interview myself now?
Well, you're pretty witty.
But what do you? Why is that? You kind of paint that as the linchpin of society's survival, right?
Yeah, well, it's the discovery of the future, delayed gratification, right?
Right.
Human beings invented time or discovered time, and we're about the only animals to really have managed it. So we have to sacrifice what's immediately gratifying for the future, and for our future selves, but also for other people.
Right.
But the payoff for that, I think, is not so much happiness, but a sense of deep engagement with your life. Now, one of the things that I've been attempting to make clear repeatedly in my YouTube lectures, for example, is that you need a sense of meaning to fortify you against the trouble of life, the suffering of life, and mostly you find that meaning in adopting responsibility, right? And that's not the same as pursuing happiness, or certainly not the same as being impulsive. You find the meaning by taking care of yourself and taking care of your family and taking care of your community, and if you fail to do those things, there's also a big price to be paid that everyone pays. And this seems to be something that we've forgotten. We've forgotten, and we've also failed to teach to young people, as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Which is a mystery and a catastrophe at the same time.
Yeah, you know, and basically you say if you want to change your life, essentially the first thing you should do is clean your room, right?
Well, I'm a traditionalist partly because of my social science training. Like, one of the things I've learned as an active clinician and a social scientist is that most feel-good, large-scale interventions end badly. Like, it's really hard to take a system that's working reasonably well and make it better, but it's easy to take a system that's working reasonably well and make it worse. And so knowing that, and we know that that's the case, that should encourage you to scale back your ambitions. And if you want to make things better, you could start by taking care of things that are within your control, and also doing it in a way that's least likely to cause harm to other people. And so this clean your room idea has become somewhat of an internet meme, but if you try it and try to organize those things right around you, you'll find that it's a lot more difficult and demanding than it looks.
Yeah, it reminds me when I was in college, the people that were the loudest activists, they didn't clean their room. They could change the world, but they couldn't change the toilet roll.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true. And they wouldn't even pay for the toilet roll. You know, I love this. There's so many good things in here, and I want to talk about the lobsters, because you do a chapter on lobsters, and it really does tell you about the kind of sobering meaning of life, because what exists in lobsters exists in humans, and you could take the leap from there of how it relates to the rise of Christianity in Jesus Christ. Is that fair to say?
That's a tough leap, that last one.
Yeah, well, lobsters, the suffering of lobsters is based on a dominance hierarchy.
Yes.
And the dominance hierarchy exists among humans.
Well, the point that I was trying to make in that chapter, which is the first one among others, is that, like, the radical leftists have a proclivity to blame hierarchy and inequality on Western culture and capitalism. And look, inequality can be a real problem because people stack up at the bottom, and that can destabilize your entire society. And no one likes poverty. Like, no one's in favor of poverty. But the problem is that the reasons for inequality are much older than human society itself. And so when the radical leftists play their linguistic games, let's say, and blame all of that on capitalism, then they're not treating the problem with its requisite seriousness. Like, we actually don't know what to do about radical inequality. And demolishing the Western system, well, unless you bring everyone down to zero, which is something that's happened before, is not going to address the issue.
Yeah.
And so that was the point that I was making in
with
the
the
first
lobsters.
chapter.
Yeah, because the lobsters exist way before us, and they have inequality, horrible inequality based on dominance hierarchy.
Yeah.
The only reason why I brought up Christianity, and I know we have to go, is because it was a remedy to dealing with the equality. If every individual is seeking truth, that is
your best bet, eh?
Yeah.
Like, your best bet to moving forward through life, despite the fact that it's extraordinarily difficult, is to look clearly at what's in front of you and to tell the truth and to speak the truth. There's an idea, a deep idea that's laid out in the biblical corpus, that the being that you extract from the future, let's say, when you're making your choices, the being that you extract from the future with truth is good. And that's an unbelievably powerful idea. It'd be lovely if that was true. You imagine that the best way to bring the best world into existence is to tell the truth and to live out the truth. I believe that that's the case.
Yeah.
So
there you go. Buy the book. Good book. Great book. Up next, why are there fewer women engineers? Someone should call Amtrak. Thanks. Good job. Men suck. That's according to engineering professors who argue in some journal that masculine social norms prevent women from becoming engineers. They say these harmful norms can include a desire to win, emotional regulation, the exertion of dominance over others, a sense of invincibility, and risk-taking. They conclude that masculinity and their harmful norms justify the subordination of women. Harmful norms? The only harmful norm I know is this dancing bear. That fits into this story, definitely. All right, Dr. Peterson. So if some coworker comes to you for advice over a parent's illness, you have to bill them because that's an emotional thing. And if you're going for a job interview, you should show up in like filthy rags as a way of not to outshine others. That's how you would deal with this advice.
Yeah, well, there's this idea that's promoted by people called social constructionists that all of the differences between men and women are cultural in origin.
Yeah.
And all of the evidence, the credible evidence that's been gathered over the last 3 decades indicates that that's wrong. So one good example of that is that in egalitarian societies like Scandinavia, like the Scandinavian countries, the differences between men and women, the personality differences and differences in interest are bigger, not smaller.
Yeah.
Tens of thousands of data points generated by generally left-leaning social scientists.
Yeah, the women, even though there are no gender differences, they still become nurses than men, by far.
And fewer engineers. And that gap grows as the societies become more egalitarian. It doesn't shrink. And that means, by the way, just so everyone is clear about this, that the leftist social constructionists are completely wrong. And that's why they're taking the legislative route to try to enforce their views.
That's scary.
You didn't frankly have the balls to put country before party.